With the passage of the debt limit deal, House Leader Kevin McCarthy is now coming for so-called entitlements, earned benefits, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. Actually, they had already gone after Medicaid and now wants to expand it. In a Fox News appearance ahead of the House's passage of the debt limit legislation, House Leader Kevin McCarthy said the measure is just a first step. It's just a first step of the Republicans' broader agenda. What agenda is that? Well, cutting aid for poor people and giving tax cuts to the rich. What agenda? I mean, that's the same agenda the Republicans have always had. Wow. I know, big revelation, right? But I mean, it's sort of like Pinky and the Brain. Like, what are we gonna do today, Brain? We're gonna go cut taxes for rich people and hurt poor people. That's the Republican Party, always. Now, in this appearance, though, he said, quote, "The majority driver of the budget is mandatory spending. It's Medicare, Social Security, interest on the debt." It's funny, you want to talk about debt, right? Where did we get the majority of this debt? Tax cuts from the rich. Weird. He added that he intends to announce a bipartisan commission to examine ways to cut spending. Now, look, you can't cut your way to prosperity, okay, for one. That includes taxes, okay, on the rich, because you have to fund things, fund promises, and besides, Social Security doesn't actually use borrowed money. That is, again, everyone who earns a paycheck pays into this throughout their entire life, and therefore that is why it is an earned benefit. So you can't really cut spending on this because it's not your money to cut. And that's what Republicans are trying to muddy the water on. They're trying to say that, oh no, so much spending is taken up by these so-called these entitlements. Oh, you're goddamn right, you're entitled to it because of your money. You paying it your entire life. That's your benefits. When you try to cut them, you're taking money literally out of people's pockets, and of course, trying to put it into rich people's pockets. That's what's going on here. Now, the thing is, he says he wants to create a commission. We've already had a commission. That was Simpson-Bowles. Now, Republicans in 2021 had another commission. Don't be surprised that this other commission also came up with the same idea as Simpson-Bowles, which was to cut Social Security. I mean, we keep telling you, Republicans are coming for your Social Security. Now, it wasn't in the debt limit, but they did get a lot of other devastating cuts into it. Adding in work requirements, Medicaid, approving pipelines, that's other stuff, but, not really related to spending, but eventually is going to have gigantic impacts when that pipeline bursts, as all of them always do. But no, their solution to a problem that they have created through massive tax cuts to the rich and corporations is to try to cut your earned benefits, to try to get rid of something that you are entitled to because it's literally your money, your retirement. I know people on government disability all their lives, and I don't feel bad if they're moved to a mental asylum to not crash. It doesn't add to the government budget. It doesn't. Social Security does not add a cent to the debt. The deficit, it is paid for already. It's in a trust fund. It is not it shouldn't be at all involved in budget negotiations here. And there are ways, by the way, you want to point out that there is an issue here with, yeah, but the trust fund will eventually be depleted at some point. Yeah, there's a way to fix that in perpetuity. It's to raise the cap on how much taxes you pay into it. Over a certain amount of money earned per year, you no longer have to pay into that, into Social Security, into the trust fund. You eliminate that cap, or you massively raise it. I would say eliminate it completely, and there you go. You would have this system funded, people's retirements funded. This trust fund would never run out of money. They don't want to do that because that would impact the rich. And that's it. That's all they care about, is helping their donors. Now, the changes proposed by the, again, rescue committees, according to this commission would go and, come up with an idea. This idea would be to cut Social Security and Medicare. And then these rescue committees, these changes would receive expedited votes in the House and Senate, again, leading to immediate cuts. Why don't we just roll back the Trump tax cuts for the rich? The vast majority of the beneficiaries of the Trump tax cuts, corporations, the wealthy, and what did they do with it? Billions of dollars of stock buybacks, executive bonuses. Not really increasing pay. Not really doing a ton of research and development. Not a lot of reinvestment into your, companies. No, just mainly executive bonuses in the form of stock buybacks and executive compensation. That's it. Billions of dollars. Claw them back. Roll it back. Roll it back. Don't put your hands on Medicare and Social Security. Don't put your hand in these programs that millions of Americans paid into and then rely on for dignity, for being able to feed and house themselves. Advocacy groups, by the way, have slammed that Romney legislation. Never forget, Bain Capital Romney. You think that he's a moderate because he speaks out against Donald Trump. No, he's an old school Republican that wants to do the same thing that the current Republican Party wants to do, which is to rob you and to help his donors. But that's it. Now, Romney's legislation, known as the Trust Act, is a ploy to cut Medicare and Social Security. Republicans have also proposed raising the Social Security retirement age, and which is, again, a benefit cut across the board. And it's funny because all these people think, well, why don't we? Of course we can raise the Social Security retirement age. People are retiring older, or they're retiring later in their lives when they're older. I mean, you got Congress members that are still working today. Look at Dianne Feinstein. She shouldn't be working. She can't. She can hardly remember what she's doing. I mean, there are moments of lucidity, but those are few and far between. And it's just going to get worse. And just because members of Congress can sit there and work, it's not exactly difficult work. The majority of their time is spent raising money from in fundraisers from donors, reading bills. But they're expecting older people to work at places like Walmart, stocking shelves, seniors. By the way, a lot of the seniors should be retired in order to make room for younger workers to get into the workforce. So that screws over the younger generation and the older generation as well, and increases unemployment and drives down wages, which is ultimately, again, the entire point. So now Social Security Works also spoke out against the Trust Act, said MAGA Republicans want to reach into our pockets and steal our earned Social Security and Medicare benefits. Social Security Works PAC, President John Bowman, also urged the public to beware the problem solvers and no-label style Democrats. So that's the other thing. MAGA Republicans, or just Republicans, let's just be real, because they all believe the same way, want to cut Social Security and Medicare. But it's not just them, it's Democrats too. There are Democrats who are more than happy to also cut benefits if it helps their donors. Those are corrupt corporate Democrats. And I shouldn't have to remind you, but I know I do, and I know I'm going to get pushback for it. But it was Joe Biden during the Obama administration, Vice President Joe Biden, who also put Social Security cuts on the table during that fiscal cliff negotiations. Now, they didn't get those cuts, and thank goodness that they didn't. That's because Republicans got super greedy and wanted even more and more cuts. But, nonetheless, he and President Obama, they put it on the table. And that's the kind of corporate Democrat that is willing to make that concession that screws over working people that have worked their entire lives and have earned these benefits.